Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Top of the List. I'm Dom, and this is RB. We're
Hi guys,
back.
How you doing?
We are back, and we are here to discuss season 5 finale of Rick and Morty.
Yeah, sorry for the delay here, guys, but we needed a full week to process everything we saw in that two-part season finale.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
By no means an exaggeration of saying this is going to change things.
Yeah, without a doubt.
But before we get into that, do you want to kind of explain what we did before and our blunder from last time?
Yeah, so for those of you who did not watch last week's episode, so we are doing a tier ranking system now. So just so you guys know, if you remember our normal 1 to 10 scale, now we have S, A, B, C, D. Essentially, an S would be a perfect 10 out of 10 episode. A would be in that 8.5 to 9.5 range. B, more in the 7.5 to 8.5, and so on and so forth when we get into C and D. So last week we had some trouble with our visual.
Yeah.
So hopefully this is a little bit better this week. And Dom, I think you're going to recap us on where we placed our first 8 episodes before we dive into the review of episodes 9 and 10.
Yeah, definitely. Because like last week when we recorded it, like it recorded only the audio, so I didn't put it on YouTube. I only put it on our podcast services. So those of you that are on our Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts, you were able to listen to our thoughts. But let's just give a quick recap for those of you that didn't see the YouTube video because we never put it on YouTube.
Yep.
So hopefully the visuals are working now. Let's start with our season 5, episode 1. We talked about Mr. Nimbus, and we both agreed this was B episode through and through.
Absolutely. Lots of laughs, but nothing that really made us feel anything, which is what we expect for definitely an S, but possibly most of our A episodes as well.
Good comedic episode with a couple cool story beats, but not that much impactfulness. Episode 2, you and I were split on. And now after seeing this episode, I'm more on Ryan's side, actually. I think this is in the C tier.
Yeah, unfortunately, this episode just didn't advance the plot. You know, we talk about through storylines a lot in Rick and Morty, and there wasn't much in this one. It was just kind of laughs on, oh, look, it's another decoy. Who's the real Rick and Morty?
And it kind of confuses everything. And it kind of like, I almost wish they never did this episode because after seeing what they do in the finale, it kind of pulls away from that personal connection we make in the finale. You know what I'm talking about, the flashback. So, C through and through. Then Planetina.
I think we gave this one an A,
I don't think we gave it an A. I think we gave it a B as well.
Okay.
Like a higher B. A little bit, definitely better than Mr. Nimbus, I think, but still in that same tier.
Okay,
Okay. And then we get to the sperm people episode.
Sperm and horse people.
Horse cannibals from underground.
Yes.
I think we both agree this was in either C or D. I forgot.
Yeah, I think we put it in a C. There was some laughs. It redeemed itself because there was a through storyline in this one. But it was definitely below the duplicates.
Definitely
replicants episode.
The pain episode, the Hellraisers kind of episode. We were kind of wavering back and forth between C and B. Definitely not an A.
No.
I
think we gave this one a B, and the next one I think we gave a C.
So we gave the hell people episode where they're feeding off of Jerry.
Jerry brings them so much pain that they love pain. It's weird.
So it was weird. It was kind of on the lower end, but then we get to the Thanksgiving episode. Wasn't that good. C tier. Kind of a Deus Ex Machina we talked about at the end that kind of pissed us off a little bit. So that's definitely a C, the turkey episode. Then we get to the Gotron episode, which I enjoyed. I thought it was unique. They tried something new, but once again, not really that much feeling.
No, not at all.
Except for maybe a little bit on Summer's character arc.
Yeah, definitely.
But in the end, nothing that impactful. So was that a B as well?
Definitely a B.
Definitely a B as well. Okay, now we're getting into really good episodes. These last 3, we enjoyed them, but well, I argued that this could be an S. The episode 8, the Rickternal Sunshine
of the Spotless Mort.
And this is where we delve into Bird Person's mind. We see some of a glimpse of a past
Blood Ridge. We get to see what happened at Blood Ridge, and we see that it's not what we thought it was, but
we see young Rick, which was amazing to see young Rick and how he was. And we learn a little bit of hints of backstory that's elaborated more on in the finale.
Absolutely.
And I was really impressed with this one. An emotional punch through and through. And for an episode that didn't have Morty in it, it was really, really great.
Really good. Yeah. So this is an A. I think
this is an
decided. Yep.
This is an A. Definitely an A. And now we get into our finale. So let's go a little more in depth on these two.
Yep. So let's start with the first one. This was, I believe, Forgetting Sarah Mortschul was the name of it.
Something like that. Yeah. So season 5, episode 9.
Yes.
They released these two together, right? We thought it was going to be one big episode, but it's long finale. Really just the last 2.
Yeah. I mean, they do have a through line. So
yeah, they have a through line.
Now, this first episode, I think we were both in the same boat. We were a little bit disappointed.
Yeah.
Knowing what we thought was going to happen, we saw the next time on Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
It literally was an episode where Rick went on adventures with 2 crows.
Yeah.
And that was kind of ridiculous and a waste of time as far as I'm concerned.
Me too. That storyline was completely a waste of time.
Yeah. Now, Morty's storyline was rather enjoyable.
Yeah.
I mean, once again, nothing that brought much feeling, nothing that really advanced the overarching plot of the show.
Here's my thing. The Rick thing with the 2 crows, they're trying to push him in a certain direction. The biggest vice that storyline has with the 2 crows is that it takes away from the next episode. They could have extended into this episode and really delved in deeper. So that's like the biggest vice it has. But like, as far as the Morty storyline goes, I think there was a lot of we've seen since season 1, Morty progressed from this pathetic kid into someone that is a good person, right? He, at the beginning of this episode, he's fixing all of Rick's mistakes, right? And he's doing it not for monetary or anything other than it's the right thing to do.
Right.
That's what I enjoy about it. And then, of course, we have what he does in this episode, which is like a little bit immature, but he's willing to go the lengths. He severs off his own hand. What do you think about this whole sequence with the portal, and just kind of explain it a little bit?
So, I mean, for those of you who didn't watch the episode, and hopefully we've given up a lot of spoilers, I guess we preemptively, because we forgot our spoiler warning.
Yeah.
But hopefully you watched the whole season. Morty spills some portal fluid on his hand, and it connects with this other guy who claims at first to be, one of Rick's sidekicks pre-Morty,
right? That
Rick just sort of threw away. And we see that happen to Morty in this episode too, which is why Rick ends up with 2 crows.
Right.
Now we go on this adventure with Morty. And do you remember the name of the guy who's in his hand?
I can't remember.
We go on this adventure and really we realize that this guy is just sort of taking advantage of Morty and sort of driving him off. And eventually, so to escape, Morty severs his own hand. Puts it on a train track. I think it's pretty gruesome.
Yeah, really gruesome.
Yeah, and then cauterizes it on the jetpack. It's crazy. So
but it was a necessary means. Like, these 2 arcs, they're just necessary for the way they wanted to end the episode. You could tell that they wanted to end this episode at a certain place, and they're just like, we'll make up how it begins later.
Yeah. So, I mean, this was, once again, to me, I'm going back and forth between a B and a C.
Yeah.
Maybe I can put this in the B range. You're right, for the Morty storyline. The Rick storyline really fell flat to me, and the crows teaching him empathy and the bird planet. I was like, okay, why? It felt like a middle of the season throwaway episode. It didn't feel like a part 1 of a finale.
Absolutely. Yeah. But it did end on a good note. And that was, we get a big shift here, even though it's kind of reversed a little bit later on, but we get a big shift where Rick does learn empathy, which is the first time we've seen him actually do that, except for, I think, maybe the Toxic Rick episode where we saw pure Rick, right?
Oh, okay.
So it was kind of similar to that, but he did it on his own in this one. Yeah. And he admitted, finally, I think this is one of the first times he admitted that him and Morty have a toxic relationship, and he needed to separate himself from that for Morty's sake.
Yeah. And
I thought that was a pretty strong way to end the episode, which is why I think I'd say B.
Okay. So that brings us into our true finale. Rick and 2 Crows, I believe, is the name of the episode.
Rick Mariah Jack, right?
Oh, this is Rick Mariah Jack. That's right. The intro is Rick and 2 Crows. And I think, as disappointing as this season was, this episode somewhat redeems the season. Not completely, because we've had even rough seasons of Rick and Morty with 2 or 3 S episodes. Now, to me, I'm going to go off the bat and say this is an S episode.
I agree.
This falls in a 10 out of 10 range.
Yeah.
But that being said, we've had bad seasons with 3 S episodes. So this is obviously the weakest season of Rick and Morty, but this was one of the best episodes Justin Roiland and Dan Harmon have ever put out.
Yeah. So we're going to put that in the S tier. 1S, 1A this season is not good, but let's talk about the implications of this episode, Ryan.
Yes.
For me, this is the biggest game changer. For me, I want to know what you think about this. For me, this is them saying, okay, we're going to not hit the reset button on the show, but I'm sure you're familiar with this, changing the status quo.
Yeah.
This is them saying, we're going to change the status quo. Yep. And I hope they follow through with that.
Yeah. Yeah. So the big reveal in this episode, we pick up, Morty goes and visits Rick. He's much older now, as we see, and says, Rick sort of got lost in this. Rick gets left by his crows, comes back to Morty. We find out it's just an aging serum. And to go fix it, we go to the Citadel. Thank goodness. We love the Citadel.
Thank you.
Finally,
we
get back to evil Morty. Mm-hmm. And eventually how it ends up is Rick allows Morty to see his whole backstory. And in such, we get to see Rick's backstory. And that is what the change of the status quo is we now know Rick's purpose. We understand how Rick went from garage scientist to pretty much an infinite man. As we see, there are endless Ricks and endless Mortys.
He's essentially near godlike, right?
Yes.
And he's the smartest man in the universe. And there's so many big reveals here. We get to see what evil Morty's real plan is, what his true intentions are, which actually is pretty smart because his plan, when you see it played out, you're like, yeah, he's doing evil things. He's killing Ricks and Mortys left and right. But his end game, his end goal is kind of pure in a way. And you're like, well, is he really evil? I think he's more just like...
And he makes that point in the episode. Yeah. It's just from, he is evil Morty because we watch the show through Rick's perspective.
Yes.
But when he explains Rick's and Morty's and what the Citadel is doing to basically breed Morty's just to, disguise Rick's, it's really, the Ricks, and maybe not our Ricks, C-137, but the Citadel of Ricks that C-137 essentially created has created these monsters. Ricks are the evil ones, not necessarily this evil Morty.
And it's really thought-provoking to see. And not only are we going to know what Rick's backstory, and now Morty knows Rick's backstory, that puts them on a level playing field, which we've never really seen. We've always seen Rick on top, or Morty kind of trying to overpass Rick. Mm-hmm. We've never seen them on equal ground before. And big reveal, we've never seen a universe where Rick isn't the smartest man. And I think we are going to.
And that was evil Morty's plan was to escape, to break the, what is the term they use? The curve?
The finite curve.
The finite curve.
Central finite curve.
Because the central finite curve is what makes it so that in every reality, Rick is the smartest person. It blocked any other reality where that's not the case. And I hope that in the coming season, not only do we focus on C-137 Rick and Morty, but we get to see a little bit of, evil Morty's adventures, or I think they're calling him the Rickest Morty.
Yeah. And just seeing Rick, hopefully they'll delve more into these universes without Rick as the smartest man, because that means that there's forces that can outsmart Rick, which is one of the weakest parts of the show. If you really put a lot of thought into it, if Rick is the smartest man in every episode, he's going to win no matter what.
Right.
And now they're trying to say, okay, let's try to defy some expectations here. Let's insert some outside universes where Rick could be outthought. Rick could be overpowered.
Yeah.
And now let's try to see him fight against those things, which is really interesting.
Right. It's almost, giving me vibes of, and I've said this from minute one, I feel like a lot of Loki borrowed a lot from Rick and Morty and whatnot. Very thought-provoking of, okay, now we're in a universe where there isn't whatever it is, the timekeepers or the finite curve that's blocking this, that now, everything's off the rails.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see where they go with it. Definitely. Balls in your court, Justin Roiland and Dan Harmon. You have the tools after this finale to make some more great television after what was probably your weakest season. So we're still along for the ride, and hopefully, you don't let us down.
Yeah. And let's end this episode on the note of Rick's backstory. I think we got to read into this just a little bit more.
Yeah. All right. Let's put it all out. Like a timeline.
Yeah. Because I think maybe after you and me watched it, this was, if there is a flaw to this 10 out of 10 episode, it went by so fast.
Very rushed.
So fast. And that was because of the Crow storyline. They didn't have time to extend it.
Exactly.
And Ryan, you were saying you thought they should have done something like in the Bad Absent episode.
Yeah.
Right. Like where the whole Morty extended
we had that. And that scene was all done by accident. That's the amazing thing.
Yeah. They should have done something like that here.
Where literally we had discussed this, that the first episode ends with Morty being handed here's all my memories. Episode 2 picks up and we get the whole first 10 to 15 minutes of the episode with just Rick's backstory. But let's lay it all out. So for those of you who missed it, from our point of view, what we saw. So we start off.
And even if you watched it, right? I think it went by so fast. Maybe some of us were like, didn't pick up on all the details, but you did definitely. I know you picked up on something.
I tried my best. So we're going to go back and forth just sort of from scene to scene. So I'll start off. The beginning, the origin of Rick that turns him into essentially the smartest man. He's visited by one of himself from another reality who offers him the portal fluid.
Yes.
He turns it down, says he's happy with his family. This Rick then drops a bomb that kills Rick's family, thus sort of provoking Rick to create the portal fluid and keep all these other Ricks alive.
Which is our biggest theory from this, is that we're going to delve into later seasons that it's like a chicken before the egg. Was it because this Rick intervened that the portal fluid only exists in the first place?
Yeah. And that's my understanding, is that the Ricks, and in this infinite loop, there has to be one Rick that goes and finds this Rick and drops this bomb. Otherwise, portal fluid will not exist. And all this whole, citadel of Ricks and all the infinite Ricks would not exist.
Absolutely.
So that's where we start.
Yeah. And after his wife and daughter are killed, Diane and Beth are killed, he goes in that deep depression. We get to see all this played out silence, which is really emotional. Yes. I really enjoyed it.
Without a doubt.
And it's what we got to see from my favorite episode still, season 3, episode 1. It's kind of what we hinted at now. We get to see the full extent of it. Right. And he goes through and he decides to create the portal gun, creates the portal fluid, and he creates this picture of the Rick that killed his wife and daughter. And he's going around the universe, hunting down alternate Ricks, trying to find the one Rick that killed his wife and daughter. And he does so unsuccessfully. Yeah.
So he spends his whole time sort of becoming an enemy to the Ricks, which then references back to season 5, right?
Season 5,
episode 8. Yeah. In the bird person, we see the standoff in the bar where the Ricks call to him and say, it's not going to bring her back, because Rick is just going through these timelines, slaughtering Ricks.
Yeah.
So we see him just going crazy, killing all these Ricks, trying to find the one that kills Beth, and he never finds it.
And we get this really crazy scene where he's just kind of sitting outside his garage, and all the Ricks are portaling to him, and he's just shooting them as they come through the portal.
Very Cabin in the Woods-esque with the elevator sequences.
Absolutely. And then he just goes through the portal and he kills a giant room of Ricks that have obviously all come together to kill this one Rick. Yep. And after he kills that giant room of Ricks, he's just flying through and rocking them. That's when Rick creates the Citadel. And that's what one of the big reveals in this episode is, that Rick is the one that starts the Citadel of Ricks.
Yeah, this is referenced a little bit in season, I think the first time we see the Citadel.
Yeah.
Season 1, episode 8, that, Rick was a member of the Council of Ricks. The Council of Ricks said, you were one of us.
Yeah.
And he goes, I am one of you. So you sort of put it in the back of your head, of course, but this confirms our theory that yes, Rick was a member of the Council of Ricks and one of the founding members of the Citadel of Ricks.
Yeah. And all the way back then, there was a little Easter egg as to what they would discuss in this episode. And people have been theorizing since season 1. I just jumped on recently. Yeah. You've been watching it from the beginning. They mentioned the central finite curve in that episode in just a throwaway line. And now we get to see it come to fruition. So if you guys want to go back to the first episode, Citadel of Ricks, when Rick and Morty first go on this adventure where we first meet Eye Patch Morty. Go back, you can find it. They talk about the central finite curve. So if you want to go back and look at that, you can. But of course, he forms a Citadel. And then after that, he forms a Citadel. He kind of crash lands on an alternate Earth where he meets our Beth. Beth C-137.
And it so happens that this is a universe where Rick has run away from his family, has not, his family is not killed. And that picks us up where season 1, episode 1, essentially.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then Morty zones back out, and we're at the center of the core of the Citadel of Ricks. And then we get Evil Morty's plan and see Evil Morty ride off into a world past the central finite curve.
Yellow portal.
A yellow portal, yes.
Could be cool.
Yes.
But
yellow or gold?
Yeah, gold. And this is another reference in season 5, episode 8, the one where we go into Bird Person's brain, and he says, oh, the younger version of Rick says to our Rick, oh, you're one of those guys that lives with his dead daughter. And that's why now we know why. That's how Rick came to be. It comes all first full circle, and it was a thrilling sequence that I wish we had gotten to see extended.
Absolutely. So excited to see where we pick up in season 6. Likely probably a year to 2 years away.
Yeah,
which
unfortunately.
is heartbreaking, but we're along for it, like I said.
What do you buy into my theory that our kind of final arc as we reach the close of this episode is going to be Rick finally finding the man that killed his wife and daughter?
I do, and okay. I have a theory.
Okay.
My theory is it maybe not. No, yeah. My theory is eventually we never see Rick check himself. My thought is it is this same Rick, C-137, who goes in the future, travels back, and we're going to see why this Rick, we're going to see our Rick, C-137, go back in time, travel to this, and we're going to see why he has to drop the bomb. And my theory is because otherwise the portal fluid would have never been created, and it'll be the end of Rick's and Morty's.
Right. Yeah.
That's sort of my theory.
Great theory, Ryan. I really hope they do something like that. That would be so amazing.
Yeah. So we'll see. My guess would be Justin Roiland and Dan Harmon are probably just as curious to us on how this is going to go. And that's why they take so much time. But like I said, bravo to them. We are happy to wait as long as they continue to put out at least better seasons than this.
Yeah. At least they didn't leave us on a terrible episode like, what was it? Season 3's finale was really bad.
Yeah, season 3.
So
this makes a clone with season 3.
Yeah. And you know what, man? It kind of makes it worth the wait. I feel like this episode makes it worth the wait.
Without a doubt. So I think we're still along for the ride in Rick and Morty. Guys, let us know, guys and gals, let us know in the comments, what you thought, if you were a fan of this season, if you thought maybe we underrated it, or if you agree with us, there were more just kind of throwaway episodes than any other season so far.
Yep.
And if you're still watching, we hope you are, because then you'll tune in with us every week, and when we're back, and we'll be talking more Rick and Morty for sure.
Absolutely. And stay tuned. We're going to probably get together and do another episode sometime soon. We got to talk Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi, there we go.
We got to talk Shang-Chi. We got to talk Suicide Squad. Yep. We got to talk a couple other films as well that have come out.
We'll probably do our second half of the summer films. And for those of you who don't remember, we did a first half of summer films just because we watched so many back to back to back to back. We'll probably do that for the second half of summer, probably in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, for sure. So keep an eye out for that one, guys. And that's this episode of Top of the List. You can subscribe if you want to be ready for that video when it comes out. And if you want to check out any of our past videos, you can check out our catalog there. Where can they find us on our podcast?
Yep. So our podcast, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. Be sure to leave us a 5-star review if you like the episode. And here on YouTube, be sure to like, follow, subscribe, and leave some comments down on stuff you'd like to see us review.
Awesome. So that's it for Top of the List, guys. We'll see you on the next episode.
Later.